Hi guys, my name is Fabiola Gretzinger. I am a current 1L at the University of Minnesota Law School. As an admissions ambassador, I want to kind of share about my living accommodation. I was lucky enough that I went to the University of Minnesota for undergrad, so I kind of had an expectation of where to live for my 1L. But for those of you who are coming from out of state, or even for those of you who want to get off campus, I live in Northeast, which is probably like a 20-minute, 30-minute bus ride into the law school. That sounds really long, but it's definitely, I love it. Even with the cold, it hasn't been, problematic. I love that time in the mornings of, like I get to listen to NPR or read a book or even like I've done readings for classes on the bus. And it's a straight bus, so I just take one bus straight to campus and it leaves me right outside of the law school. So it's really convenient. Definitely, if you're thinking about living outside of campus, make sure that you have like one direct bus line or green line or the light rail, so you're not switching buses because that can get really complicated and it can end up being a lot of time. So I live in the Northeast area. What I love about the Northeast is it's enough off campus where I'm not thinking about law school. I don't have the law school right in front of me, but it's also close enough that my commute isn't super long. In a car, it's probably like 5 to 8 minutes, so it's really, really close. I also love that there's so much going on. There's a huge amount of restaurants all over the place. My personal favorite is Brasa. It's Southern food, and it's probably like a 5-minute walk from my house. Another great thing about it is that it has a lot of direct buses to downtown Minneapolis, so if you're thinking of working downtown for the summer, I have a bus that literally in 5 minutes will have me in downtown. And then my personal favorite thing about Northeast is you can pretty much walk anywhere you want within Northeast. So I love walking down to the river, down to Mississippi River, and walking the whole St. Anthony, Maine area. So I'm going to do a little tour about that. I will be walking down Central Avenue, which is pretty much Northeast. And that'll take me straight down to St. Anthony, and then once I get to St. Anthony, Maine, I will walk down the strip of restaurants around that area that also has the river, which is really pretty. And then hopefully, if it's still sunny out, I will cross the Stone Arch Bridge, which is one of the most famous, touristy areas. So you've probably seen it, and you get a great view of the skyline. And then I will try and make it down to downtown if it's still sunny, and then show you guys a little bit of because I've also walked to work because it's like a 30-minute walk to downtown. So if you like walking, biking, it's definitely really accessible, and then also the commute is not bad. So let's go. So this is a great view of Central. So we have some apartments, my yoga studio, and then down that way you can see a couple of the restaurants that I was talking about. You can see, for example, Lou's Sandwich, which has great banh mi. Also, I will get closer, but there's a place called Glamdal Donuts, which is actually famous in Minneapolis for their donuts because they're that good. And then my personal favorite, Spitz, which is down there. There you go. And Rusty Taco, they have great like $2 tacos and happy hours and margaritas. And then Spitz is a great Mediterranean place. They have sangria and Mediterranean street food. And then farther down where like the light is University Ave, so that'll take you straight down to campus. And like I said, everything is pretty much walking distance. I've probably walked 5 minutes from my apartment. It's pretty dead right now because everyone is practicing a grade social distancing, and then Glamdal Donuts is also closed, probably because of that. So walking down Central a little bit more, you can see a little bit of downtown, which if you cross this bridge, which is what I cross if I walk to work, it's probably like 15 minutes. And then there's a Lund's in Barley's, this might be against the light a little bit, and a Caribou Coffee if you need to do groceries. I normally walk to Trader Joe's or something like that, but there's obviously something pretty close in Northeast area. And then this street is University Ave, which like I said will take you straight down to campus. So now I'm down by the river. You can see most of the skyline from here. This is what we call St. Anthony, Maine. That's mostly the skyline, and then you can see on this side there is a movie theater, and then there's a whole bunch of restaurants that are currently closed. My personal favorite is Astor Cafe, and then there's a couple more. There's Jefe, which is Mexican. There's another little cafe farther down called Wild, which is also kind of American food, and then there's Pracno, which is Italian. So there's a whole lot of options during the summer. It's normally really hard to find seating, so call ahead. And then again, here is the river, and I will walk down further to the Stone Arch Bridge. So, prospective students, this is the famous Stone Arch Bridge. As you can see, we're a little bit against the light, but you can see all of the skyline pretty much of Minneapolis. The US Bank Stadium, most of the really big buildings. Also behind me is where the park starts. You can see some student living, correction, not student living. They're actually pretty expensive because of the location, but apartment buildings all over pretty much across down St. Anthony, Maine. And then, like I said, it's mostly during the summer and the spring and the fall that this is open. It gets really cold, so most people are not walking outside, but we will hit the Mississippi River pretty soon. Here is one side of the river. You can kind of see, like I mentioned, the US Bank Stadium. That's kind of a theater with the yellow, and you can go and you can look out to the Mississippi River. Like you can see, most people out here are walking because it is such a nice day. And then you can kind of start seeing where the water is lifting once we hit the rougher part of the river. And then there are some also apartments on the other side at the end of the bridge, but most of them, like I said, are pretty expensive because of location and just like the view that they have. And then you can also see kind of, this is not as physically or aesthetically pleasing, but there is a bike lane as well. So if you like biking, this is definitely a great bike. And you can also keep going after the bridge ends, and you get to see a lot of like residential areas kind of also in the northern part of the city. And they have a great, like, well-maintained loop for you to do. I know my friends have run it. I'm not really a runner, but they've run it. And it is, I think, 6 miles, which is what they did when they did it. And then here you can start seeing the other side of the river, which is probably where most people stop. You can kind of see as well the skyline. So this kind of ends the St. Anthony Northeast tour. Hopefully you guys can all come and enjoy it at some point, hopefully in the summer. It's a lot nicer, but it's a pretty nice day today. So there's the skyline of downtown Minneapolis.